This is the freaking opening round of the first ever women's tournament of glory. And Daenerys was supposed to start this off against Zelda, but we all know how that turned out. Zelda ended up winning the women's championship and everything. So Daenerys pretty much got a bye into the next round, but she'll end up facing whoever wins this match between Ruby and freaking Nessa. And just like in the men's tournament, whoever wins the women's tournament of glory will get a title shot against whoever the champion is after faking new beginnings. Whether that be Sonya or Zelda. And you know Ruby Rose would love to be able to get that title opportunity, because she has, ever since she lost the New Gen Queen of Wolves Championship, she hasn't really done much of anything. But she has to compete against somebody who's a multi-time former women's champion, who also finally is making a comeback after being gone for like forever. Mostly because she had a freaking fashion magazine shoot or some shit, or she had some shit over in Gala region, I don't freaking know. But I'm just happy to see Nessa is finally back after freaking forever. And now she's trying to earn her own opportunity at the Women's Championship again. But first she has to get to Ruby Rose. And Ruby ain't no slouch, I'll know that much. The reason why Ruby was champion for so long. Same with Nessa. It's like nothing like kicking off this tournament with a freaking pair of former champions. And it'll be interesting to see if Nessa has any ring rust. Same with Ruby, since we haven't seen either of them wrestle in quite a while. Like I said, it'll be interesting, that's for sure. And the crowd is happy to see both of these girls, I know that for a fact. And let's get this opening round contest of this tournament underway. And Ruby immediately just running in and nailing a Hurricane Run at Nessa. And Ruby with an armbar on Nessa. And this is the first time these two have ever faced each other, by the way. Tilt-a-whip backbreaker. And like it's already been mentioned, this is the move on to the tournament to crown the next number one contender for the Women's Undisputed Championship. In case anybody who watches this was wondering what the stakes are for this whole thing. And I'm hoping to upload the entire first round in one long video, by the way. Since unlike the men, which has 32 participants, the women's tournament only has like 16. Well, that was one way of doing a transition. A drop kick into a kick to the midsection, and then just repeated kicks by Nessa there. And now Colin Ever tie up. Arm drag. But it'll be a hell of a lot easier to freaking fourth wall break, record this entire first round and just put into one video. Especially since that only has like 7 matches. Since Daenerys got a bye because Zelda, won the championship and everything. Dragon screw by Ruby. Unless of course like every match, which I highly doubt will happen, that's like every match turns into like a freaking 30-minute freaking contest, like it's a New Japan match. And Nessa whiffing that forearm. And DDT by Nessa to Ruby. Yeah, that's what I meant. By Nessa to Ruby. Sorry. English is hard. Ruby getting whipped in the corner by Nessa. And just like the men, the women got their own tournament of glory arena. And Nessa just with a punch to the face of Ruby there, who blocks a kick and just gets shoved off into the corner. Knocked in the corner with Ruby, punched the face. And Ruby kicking Nessa off. And Ruby whipping Nessa in the corner. Punched the face of Nessa there by Ruby. Oh god. Ruby, whatever the heck was this, is into a Hurricane Rana. And Nessa just punching Ruby off. Hurricane Rana by Nessa to Ruby, almost into the ropes. Elbow drop to the back. Ruby just knocking Nessa in the corner there, that punch and a kick. And setting on the top turnbuckle. Punch to the face of Nessa by Ruby. And Ruby, oh god, with a superplex to Nessa from the top turnbuckle. And Ruby with a knee to the back of Nessa there. And a kick to the back of Nessa as well. And Nessa blocking a slap attempt. And now an armbar into a headlock. And just a kick to the head of Ruby there. And Ruby just kicks her off again. Hurricane Rana by Ruby. Oh god, Ruby going to the outside. Springboard, which she missed. And Nessa with a keep up. And now Ruby reversing whenever Nessa trying to go for that into a DDT. Hurricane Rana again by Ruby Rose to Nessa there. Now Ruby with a bulldog to Nessa. Rolling Nessa over. Oh god. And Ruby, moonsault, which she missed. And now Ruby would kick the midsection of Nessa. And now going for a freaking submission attempt on Nessa. I don't remember Nessa ever tapping out ever in her career. And I know Nessa, she's very stubborn. She won't ever give up. And she's forced to. And Ruby's just had that submission on Nessa for a while. Now she finally had to let go of it. Drop kick by Ruby to Nessa there. Oh god, Ruby going for another springboard, which she missed again. And Nessa with a kick to the lower back of Ruby again. And Ruby just shoving Nessa off. Another kick in the midsection of Ruby there. Now an armbar by Nessa. Who just whips her in the corner. Watch out, ref. Clothesline knocking Ruby down by Nessa. And Ruby with another kip up. And Nessa with a hurricane rod into a roll up. Only one count. And then Nessa with a headlock and Ruby into a go behind. And Nessa whipping Ruby in the corner. Clothesline knocking Ruby down. And a kick to the lower back of Ruby by Nessa there. And Nessa tried to go for DDT. And Ruby reversed into a DDT of her arm. Oh god, Ruby with another springboard, and she missed again. It's like Tony Hawk, but without all the flippy shit. And then Nessa just a kick to the lower back and Ruby again. And Nessa with a kick to midsection Ruby and a DDT to Ruby there. And Ruby punching Nessa off of her. Kick to midsection of Nessa as well by Ruby. And Ruby with a DDT to Nessa. Rolls her over, going for cover. Only a one count off the DDT. Now Nessa just kicks the head of Ruby there, knocking her down. Oh god, now Nessa with the springboard, which she nailed. Oh god, Nessa going for another springboard, which she missed. And now Ruby dragging Nessa away from the ropes. Going for a cover. 1, 2, and Nessa kicked out. And Ruby with a go behind on Nessa. And a shot to the lower back. A kick to midsection Ruby by Nessa. Go behind by Ruby and a shot to the lower back and Nessa by Ruby. Hurricane Rana almost in the ropes again. And now Ruby going for a single leg Boston Crab on Nessa. And Nessa manages to get to the ropes. And now Ruby with another DDT to Nessa. Oh god, now Ruby moonsault, which she finally nailed. Going for covers, Ruby. 1, 2, and Ruby pins Nessa off the moonsault to the back. Kind of surprising there. And a bit of an upset for Ruby there. To pin a former freaking women's champion, even though she's been a champion in her own right. But you get the idea. But Nessa's already been eliminated from the freaking tournament, which is crazy to think about. And Ruby will move on in the next round of the tournament to face Dane Harris. Freaking crazy. And the next match is Morgan taking on Urza. I wish you luck with that, freaking Morgan. That's all I'm gonna say. What a way to start off this tournament. For Ruby, that's for sure. This is the second match of this opening round of the Tournament of Glory for the women's division. And the first one to come out is freaking Morgan. Well, I don't remember if she ever competed for a championship back in the day of the Mag Nation, and I know she hasn't really done anything since she showed up here. But she's been freaking a presence, that's for sure. Mostly because she keeps flirting with all the crowd members with whom she comes out here. And she's been flirting with some of the guys in the backstage area, apparently, from what I've been told. But now Morgan is hoping to move on in this tournament and get an opportunity at the Women's Championship for the first time, I think. Like, ever. But in order to do that, she has to go through freaking Urza Scarlet, who was a former New Gen Women's Champion, and probably would have beaten Sonya if it hadn't been for Juliet Sterling's bullshit. But at least it worked out in the end because Dawn ended up beating Sonya. So it's whatever. Urza's still been pissed off about it ever since. That she never got a rematch for the title before, it got unified with the main roster women's title and became the undisputed championship for the women's division. Since, the two divisions for both rosters got put together in their single division. And here comes freaking Urza, who was hoping to get an opportunity to challenge either Sonya or Zelda for the title. The chief rightfully should be hers. And honestly, I would have to agree. Because Urza never really lost that title, I think. She was pretty much it's either that or she was screwed out of it. One or two. All I know is that freaking Juliet Sterling's a pain in the ass and she's a freaking jerk. And unfortunately she's in this tournament as well. So yeah, not exactly looking forward to having to see that. But I am looking forward to seeing Urza hopefully get an opportunity to the title again. That would be awesome. And I know I'm not supposed to show bias, but there are certain people on this roster that and in this company like more than others. I'm looking at you, freaking unwashed, freaking bunch of gaggle of assholes. And let's get this one-on-one women's match underway. And Morgan whipping Urza in the corner. Urza dodging whenever Morgan tried to go for there. And Urza kicking the section of Morgan in an armbar. And Urza whipping Morgan in the corner. And Morgan is kicking her off. Clothesline by Morgan, knocking her down. And then Morgan with a suplex to Urza. And Morgan an electric chair drop to Urza. Holy. And then Morgan with an armbar on Urza. And Urza with an enziguri to Morgan there, knocking her down. A drop kick by Urza as well. And now Morgan whipping Urza on the ropes. Tilt-a-whirl backbreaker to Urza by Morgan. And just sits on Urza's chest there, does Morgan. And Urza just shoves her off. Arm drag to Morgan there by Urza. And Urza whipping Morgan into an uppercut. Elbow drop by Urza there, Morgan. And Morgan blocking the punch there in a headlock. Punch the face of Urza there by Morgan. Clothesline knocking her down. Now Morgan with a running splash at Urza. And Morgan going for cover off the splash. Only one count. And Urza blocking punch there in a headlock on Morgan. And Urza with a body slam to Morgan there. Elbow drop to the chest of Morgan there, again there by Urza. Running crossbody by Morgan there to Urza. Going for cover. 1, 2, and Urza kicks out at 2. Misses the clothesline as Morgan there as Urza dodges out of the way. Shoulder tackle by Urza to Morgan. Oh god. Urza with a springboard, which she nailed. And Urza off the ropes. Running drop kick to the face of Morgan there by Urza. Going for covers Urza. 1, only one count. Enziguri by Urza there to Morgan, knocking her down again. And Urza dragging Morgan from the ropes. Going for covers Urza. 1, 2, and Morgan kicks out again. And now Urza going for the fairy tale driver. And she nails it to Morgan. Going for cover. 1, 2, and Urza gets the pin off the fairy tale driver, making somewhat short work of Morgan there. Urza will be moving on to the round 2 of the tournament. And Morgan, well, she still can probably seduce somebody on her way out the building. But freaking just stinks that she lost already in the tournament. But that's what happens when you take on somebody who's a former champion and who's also freaking pissed as all hell by losing to a freaking cheerleader and then freaking having to deal with that whole crap. And Juliet Sterling. But either way. Next match is Tifa taking on Misty. We haven't seen Misty in a minute, so it's going to be nice to see her again as well. Well, no, she's probably pissed off as all hell, as well, in the case of Misty. And this is the next match of the first round of the tournament in the glory for the women's division. And the first one that come in is Misty, who's a former women's champion as well. There's so many freaking former women's champions in this freaking tournament. And she is ticked off because freaking Dawn got wiped out by freaking Killer Frost recently. And I did not ever think Killer Frost would ever show up here. She usually wrestles on AOT2 Wrestling. And she just randomly showed up, took out Dawn with a pipe, and I don't know where the heck she is now, but she's apparently around somewhere. And Misty's been pissed about the fact that her tag team partner got taken out by somebody from another part of the company. And I don't know how long Dawn's gonna be out because she was hurt bad from what I was told. But Misty needs to keep her focus on this match because she's taking on Tifa, who was hoping to get redemption and finally get an opportunity to title that she never got before because it got taken away from her because of all the crap that happened between her and Zarina. We all know how that turned out. They ended up having a match with Final Hunt, and Zarina ended up winning. And ended up getting an opportunity to internet title for the women's division. And now Tifa and Zarina, who's also in this tournament, are going to be competing to try and get a shot at the women's title again. And let's get this match underway between these two. And Tifa, with a headlock on Misty, slams her face first into the ring. Elbow drop to the back of Misty by Tifa there. Now Tifa with an armbar on Misty, arm drag. And now Tifa with a Russian leg sweep to Misty. Enziguri, not Enziguri, freaking heel kick there by Tifa, sorry, to Misty. And now Misty with a go behind on Tifa and a shot to the back of Tifa there. Suplex by Misty to Tifa. And now Misty whipping Tifa in the corner. And Misty whipping Tifa in the opposite corner. Clothesline knocking her down. And now Misty with an arm drag to Tifa. Knee to the lower back of Tifa there by Misty as well. And Misty, like I said, is a former women's champion. I believe she beat Rainbow Dash for it. Or Nessa. No, it might have been Rainbow Dash. Continental tie between the two. John's going to be happy about that. And a headlock by Tifa and Misty. And just slams her face first against the ring again. Elbow drop to the back. And now Tifa whipping Misty in the ropes. Hurricane Rana by Tifa to Misty. Now Tifa with an armbar on Misty. A knee to the midsection of Tifa by Misty. Hurricane Rana by Misty there. And now Misty with a headlock on Tifa. And there's a slap to the face of Tifa there, knocking her down. Now Misty with an elbow to the face of Tifa there. And Misty with a headlock on Tifa. And Tifa reverses it into an elbow to the face, knocking Misty down. And now Tifa with a headlock on Misty. And then a slap to the face of Misty as well. Tournament's fair play, I guess. Hurricane Rana by Tifa. And now Tifa with a knee to the back on Misty. A headlock by Tifa on Misty. Another slap to the face. She keeps slapping in the face. Misty's gonna get pissed. Flips whoever it is, Tifa. And now Tifa picking up Misty. Hurricane Rana by Tifa to Misty. Now Tifa with a twisting neck breaker there. Now Tifa dragging Misty away from the ropes. Going for a cover. 1, 2, and Misty kicks out. And now Tifa going for the final heaven. And picks her up in the electric chair. And nails it. Now Tifa going for the cover of the final heaven. 1, only a 1 count. What the fuck? And now Continental tie up between the two of them again. Armbar by Tifa on Misty. Arm drag. Now Tifa springboard, which she missed. Good job. Misty with a kip up there, moving out of the way of the springboard. Misty with a chop to chest and a drop kick knocking down Tifa. Off the ropes is Misty. Jumping clothesline takes her down again. Now Misty with a freaking Selena Del Sol, whatever the fuck that was. And now Misty go for cover. One. Only one count. Drop kick to Tifa there by Misty. Now Misty blocking kick down from Tifa. Bubble beam stunning to Tifa by Misty. And Misty dragging Tifa away from ropes. Going for cover is Misty. 1, 2, and Tifa kicked out after getting hit with the bubble beam stunner. Holy crap. Kicked to the head of Tifa there, knocking her down by Misty. Going for cover. 1, only a 1 count. Now Misty whipping Tifa in the corner. And now sets Tifa on the top turnbuckle. And now Misty with a freaking superplex to Tifa from the top turnbuckle. And now Misty going for cover. 1, 2, and Misty gets the pin on Tifa with the superplex. Couldn't pin her with a freaking... her version of the walking with wolves that she probably borrowed from Damian Wolf. And she couldn't pin her with the bubble beam stunner, which I'm surprised. So she just hit her with a superplex and got the pin off of that. Either way. Making Misty will be taking on freaking Urza Scarlet in the next round of the tournament. And Tifa, she's probably going to be pissed when she wakes up about this. But Misty moves one step closer to avenging her tag team partner. And even though Donna's owed a rematch whenever she comes back, but she's probably going to want to deal with Killer Frost first, but you get the idea. The next match is She-Hulk taking on Starfire. And that'll be interesting, especially since we haven't seen either one of them in a while either. And congrats to Misty on the huge win. And this next match, like I said before, involves She-Hulk taking on Starfire. And these are two girls we haven't seen in a hot minute. She-Hulk was the first ever Queen of New Gen Women's Champions. She held it for like 21 days, and then she lost to Ruby Rose. And then she just disappeared after a while. And Starfire has challenged for titles in the past. And her and Raven have had a couple of tag team matches together. And other than that, we haven't seen Starfire in a minute either. So it would just be nice to see both these girls. And both these girls are trying to get an opportunity, just like everyone else in this tournament, at the women's title. Well, no, She-Hulk probably would like to get that. Because, like I said, she hasn't held a title, been anywhere near the championship gold, since she lost the New Gen Women's Championship to Ruby forever ago. And here comes Starfire. Ironic thing is, these two are from opposing comic book franchises. Starfire being a DC character from the Teen Titans, and She-Hulk being a Marvel character. We're not getting into that freaking Marvel versus DC shit. Freaking that's for sure. And like I said, this is the first time either one of these two stepped in a wrestling ring in quite some time, so it'll be interesting to see if these two have any ring rust at all. And let's get this match underway between these two. Drop kick immediately by Starfire to start off. And Starfire with a bulldog to She-Hulk. And I almost forgot to mention that She-Hulk and Gamora have a tag team together. And they haven't really... I don't think they ever even had a match together. And I know, like I said, Starfire and Raven also have a tag team together as the Teen Titans. Michinoku Driver, whatever the hell that was, by She-Hulk to Starfire. And Starfire with a suplex to She-Hulk. I forget to mention that Starfire is ridiculously strong, just like She-Hulk is. And She-Hulk with a chin breaker off the elbow to Starfire. And She-Hulk with an armbar on Starfire, now an arm breaker attempt. And now She-Hulk just a punch to Starfire and a go behind. Russian liquid Starfire by She-Hulk there. Now She-Hulk's wailing away with punches and an uppercut there by the Starfire. And that has her up, but Starfire reversed into a reverse DDT. She-Hulk kicking Starfire in the corner. Whoops her in the opposite corner. Watch out, ref. Shoulder tackle in the midsection. And another one. And a kick in the midsection as well, knocking her down. Now just grinding her knee against her face. And a double foot stomp to the chest of Starfire there by She-Hulk. And misses the knee drop there. And She-Hulk with a German suplex of Starfire. Jesus Christ. And Starfire just punching her off. There. No Starfire with an arm bar into an arm drag. This She-Hulk there. And a go behind by Starfire into a suplex. Now Starfire whipping She-Hulk in the ropes. Hurricane Rana by Starfire. And now She-Hulk tried to go for a kick there, but Starfire blocked into a clothesline. And if you just hear noises in the background, it's my dog fidgeting around on my bed for reasons. Now Starfire whipping She-Hulk in the corner. Hurricane Rana by Starfire to She-Hulk in the corner. She-Hulk just punches her off. Kicked midsection of Starfire, another one. And just more punches by She-Hulk. One of the breadbasket. And a headbutt by She-Hulk. Jesus Christ, She-Hulk. Oh God. She-Hulk with the springboard, which she missed. Somebody count all the springboards that people have missed in this video, by the way. And She-Hulk with a slap to the back ahead of Starfire. And headlock. And She-Hulk whipping Starfire in the corner. Watch out, ref. And Starfire blackmails She-Hulk trying to go for that and puts her in the corner. Misses the clothesline to Starfire. And She-Hulk with another German suplex after dodging Starfire's clothesline attempt. And now She-Hulk picking up Starfire. Oh God. And She-Hulk with the gut-wrench suplex. Now go for cover as She-Hulk. 1, 2, and Starfire kicks out. And Starfire blocking when She-Hulk tried to go for there. Probably Hulkbuster or whatever the heck. And Starfire whipping She-Hulk in the corner. Clothesline in the back of the head of She-Hulk, then knocking her down. Starfire setting up for a Star Bowl. And she nails the Star Bolt, faking spinning kick there. She-Hulk. And Starfire going for cover. Only a 1 count by She-Hulk. What the fuck? A boot to the face of Starfire by She-Hulk. Jesus Christ. And missing a dropkick to Starfire. And She-Hulk going to top turnbuckle. And Starfire just cuts her off and beals her off the top turnbuckle. Knee to the back of She-Hulk by Starfire there. And another kick in midsection of She-Hulk by Starfire. And a DDT. Going for cover. Or not. Freaking, I thought Starfire was going to go for cover off that. Just an elbow to the top head of She-Hulk by Starfire. And She-Hulk was just a punch to the midsection of Starfire there. Into a headlock. And Starfire rushed into a Russian leg sweep. And She-Hulk shoving her off. Kicked the midsection of Starfire by She-Hulk. Now is not the time for us taunting She-Hulk. And she gets whipped in the corner. Elbow to the back of the head of She-Hulk by Starfire. And an elbow to the back. And She-Hulk whipping Starfire in the ropes. Another Michinoku driver, whatever the hell that was. Going for a cover. 1, 2, and Starfire kicks out again. And another German suplex by She-Hulk to Starfire. And now She-Hulk, oh God, now she's going back up the top turnbuckle again. And Starfire trying to cut her off, but She-Hulk punched her. And an axe handle attempt by She-Hulk, but Starfire punched her in the midsection. And kicked to the lower back of She-Hulk by Starfire. Oh jeez. Springboard by freaking Starfire, and she actually nailed it. Another punch to the back of She-Hulk there by Starfire. Freaking, everybody's just standing and walking with wolves from Damien Wolf. Going for cover is Starfire. 1, 2, and Starfire gets the win off of her freaking version of Damien Wolf's move. Just looking crazy. She-Hulk tried to freaking her best to beat Starfire in this match, but she freaking paid for it for all the taunting and trying to go up to the top turnbuckle. And Starfire will be moving on in the next round of this tournament. And she'll be facing the winner of the next match, which is Juliet Sterling to end Samus. So whoever wins that match will be taking on Starfire in the next round. And I really hope it's not Juliet, for obvious reasons. Lord knows Raven's probably happy as heck that her partner freaking won this match. Somewhere in the back. And this is the next match in the Women's Tournament of Glory, and freaking I am not looking forward to this match because freaking this, you know what, freaking Juliet Sterling, one who screwed Urza out of the New Gen Women's Championship, and then thankfully Dawn managed to beat her for it after a while. And then Urza had that freaking last woman standing no holds barred match with Juliet, which thankfully Urza won. And now Juliet's back, and she's trying to get an opportunity to get the title back, and I pray to God she never wins again. Last thing I want is to see this freaking bitch holding on to the title. That's for sure. A lot of people in the company said the same thing. Freaking Christ almighty. That was freaking one of the worst periods of time freaking ever for the title when she was champion. And hopefully Samus will be able to beat her, especially considering the fact that the Nintendo gals are actually on a bit of a hot streak, considering Zelda freaking winning the championship and everything. Even though her and Peach didn't win their tag titles, they gave it their best shot. And now Samus is trying to win herself an opportunity to face her own tag team partner / friend freaking in Nintendo gals in Zelda's case. But Samus has to get through Juliet Sterling first, and I hope to God that she does. But the last thing I want is freaking Juliet moving on in this tournament, like I said. And like I said before, I know I'm not supposed to be biased, but like I said, there are some people in this company that I just cannot stand. Juliet Sterling being one of them. And let's get this match underway. And Samus immediately with a drop kick this Juliet. And Juliet blocked punched in, punching her with one of her own. Now Samus with an enziguri to Juliet. And now Samus is on the offensive, and Juliet blocking a chop attempt there, missed the kick there. Now Khan and tie up between the two. And a headlock by Juliet. And Juliet just punches her down. And Samus trips her up there and nails that elbow drop. Kick midsection, more kicked by Juliet there. Whatever the hell that was. And Juliet with a DDT to freaking Samus. And Samus with a headlock on Juliet. Whips her in the corner. Shot to the back. And Juliet with a pair of elbows to the face of Samus there. Carnal tap between the two. And just slams her face first into the ring. Just Juliet to Samus. Now Juliet with an armbar and Samus. And Samus with an arm drag to Juliet. Carnal tap again between the two. Into a headlock by Juliet. And an elbow to the face of freaking Samus there by Juliet. And now a headlock again. And a body slam by Samus to Juliet. And now Juliet with an arm drag to Samus. Now Samus with an arm bar and Juliet. And Samus with a body slam to Juliet. And now Samus with a go behind on Juliet. Whoops her in the corner. And Juliet blocking a kick there. Dragon screw by Juliet to Samus. Now Juliet with a clothesline to freaking Samus there. And a kick section of Samus by Juliet. And Juliet blocking that punch there. And headlock by Juliet. Elbow to the face. And Samus with a takedown to Juliet. And whiffs the elbow drop there. Clothesline by Juliet to Samus. And Samus trips her up. And misses that elbow drop there. A knee drop to Juliet there by Samus. And now Samus whipping Juliet in the ropes. Body slam there by freaking Samus to Juliet. Now slamming her head against the ring. Now Sam is picking up Juliet. Go behind, and Juliet reversed it into an armbar. And Juliet just punches her down again. And a freaking neck snap there by freaking Juliet. And Samus with a kip up off of that. Clothesline knocking her down. And another one by Samus. Body slam again by Samus to Juliet. Clothesline by Samus to Juliet there. And now Samus just slamming the back of Juliet's neck against her knee. Gun for cover. 1, 2, and Juliet kicks out. And Samus trying to steal Juliet's move, but she reversed it into a freaking Samoan drop. Springboard by Juliet, which she missed. Good job. And now Samus picking up Juliet after the elbow to the back, and Juliet misses that. And a freaking famouser by Juliet. And now Juliet going for cover. 1, 2, and Samus kicks out, thank God. Hurricane Rana there by Juliet to Samus. And now Juliet dragging Samus away from the ropes. Going for cover. 1, only 1 count. Go behind by Juliet and Samus. Juliet whooping Samus in the corner. Just nailed it in the back there. That shot. And now Juliet's setting up for Lollipop Chainsaw. Drop kick to the back of Samus there. And now she's just taunting. And you see why I can't stand this version of Juliet? Samus was to punch to Juliet there. Whips her in the corner. Elbow drop to the back. Now Juliet's back up, and Samus with a kick to the back, a leg of Juliet. And Juliet flips her over. Elbow drop, but she woofed. Kicked in midsection Juliet by Samus. Just more punches there by Samus. And just whoops her in the corner again. And Juliet reversed whatever Samus tried to go for there. And Samus reversed whatever Juliet tried to go for. Chop block there by Samus to Juliet. And that is slamming the back of her head against the ring. And Juliet blocked the kick there. And what the fig was that? And Samus by Juliet. Now Juliet going to the outside. I thought she was about to go for a springboard, but I guess she changed her mind. Calling it with tap between the two. And Juliet with a headlock on Samus. Flips her over. And her foot was there by the rope. And was able to get a rope break when she tried to go for a submission. And a punch, a kick, and an open hand palm strike there. And Juliet going for cover. 1, 2, and Samus kicks out again. Springboard by Juliet, which she barely got there. And now Samus is back up. And Juliet just punches her off when she tried to go for what I would assume was a submission. And just a kick to the dome of Samus there by Juliet. Now Juliet go for cover. 1, 2, and Samus kicks out again. Now armbar by Juliet and Samus. And Juliet whipping Samus in the corner. And Samus blocking the attempt for a chop there by Juliet and puts her in the corner, kicks the midsection, and sets her in the Tree of Woe. And Samus is grinding her foot against Juliet's throat. And now Samus is slamming her neck against her knee again. Going for cover, Samus. 1, 2, and Samus gets the win over Juliet. Thank freaking Christ. And Samus will be moving on to the tournament. And I believe she'll be facing freaking Starfire in the next round. So it'll pretty much be a battle of the freaking Nintendo character taking on a DC character. That's going to be interesting. The next match is Kiyomi taking on Silk Spectre. That's another Magnation legend facing off against freaking, well, you know, former TAW champion. That's right. And that match will be freaking interesting. And thank you, Samus, for getting rid of freaking Juliet Sterling out of this tournament. Thank Christ. And this is the second and last match of the day, freaking, where Cammy's taking on Silk Spectre. And Cammy's hitting on and off again, tag team with freaking Sonya, and it's like they're both two popular female fighters from their respective franchises. They haven't really ever officially been a tag team, but they've worked together in the past, and I'm pretty sure they probably consider themselves friends and allies. But I don't think freaking Cammy's a part of freaking the Unwashed, as far as I know. But I know for a fact that Cammy probably doesn't give a shit about freaking if she would have to beat freaking Sonya, freaking with the women's title if she was given the opportunity to. Which she might have if she wins this tournament. First she has to get through Silk Spectre, and Sonya has to get through freaking Zelda first. And this is like the first time I've seen Silk Spectre in quite some time. Since she tried to win an opportunity for the women's internet title, I believe, a while back. And now she's trying to get an opportunity to become the women's champion, which I don't believe she ever won until she came back to Manic Nation. I'm just happy to see Silk Spectre, and Lord knows there's a lot of people in this crowd that are happy to see her, since up until when she showed up here, she hasn't been seen in years. Unless you read the Watchmen comics or watched the movie, or the TV series that they came out with a while back. Anyway, this will be an interesting matchup to see these two face each other. And this is the first time, too, for Silk Spectre to face freaking Cammy. So, like I said, this will be interesting. And let's get this second to last match underway between these two. And Colin Neville title between the two of them, the stars. Sean McCarty is going to be happy about that. Go behind by Cammy on Silk Spectre. Neck breaker. And now Cammy picking up Silk Spectre into a headlock. Flips her over. Now Cammy getting dumped to the outside by Silk Spectre. And Silk Spectre just getting sent to the outside by Cammy when she tried to knock her off the apron. Arm dragged by Silk Spectre to Cammy. And now these two are just fighting on the outside of the arena. By that I mean ring. Cammy's been whipped back in the ring by Silk Spectre, and there's an elbow to the head of Cammy there by Silk Spectre. Now Silk Spectre's back in the ring. Go behind by Cammy. And Silk Spectre with an arm drag to Cammy. Arm bar by Cammy to Silk Spectre. And an arm drag again. And now Cammy with a headlock. And just punches her down. And now Cammy picking up Silk Spectre. Into a go behind. Into a headlock. Elbow to the face of Cammy there by Cammy. Silk Spectre by Cammy, you know what I mean. Headlock again. Russian leg sweep by Silk Spectre. Kick the midsection by Cammy to Silk Spectre there. And just whips her in the corner. An elbow to the back to the head of Silk Spectre by Cammy. And Cammy knocking Silk Spectre in the corner of the ring. And Silk Spectre shoving her off. Shoulder tackle by Silk Spectre there. Block the drop kick attempt to Cammy. An elbow to the back of Silk Spectre again. And another elbow to the back. And Silk Spectre just repeated kicks to the head of Cammy there and just more punches. Silk Spectre just punching Cammy down there. Front flip. Leg drop there, whatever the hell that was. And just a punch in the midsection of Silk Spectre there by Cammy. And Silk Spectre just getting suplexed to the back of her head by Cammy there. An elbow drop to the back again of Silk Spectre by Cammy. And Cammy with a Russian leg sweep to Silk Spectre after nailing her in the face with an elbow. And now Cammy going to the outside. And Cammy going to the top turnbuckle. And Silk Spectre cutting her off. Oh god. And Silk Spectre with a stun out of Cammy from the top turnbuckle. An elbow drop to the chest of Cammy there by Silk Spectre. And misses a front flip leg drop there, whatever that was. And a neck breaker by Silk Spectre there, Cammy. And Silk Spectre just making her pay for freaking trying to go through that top rope turnbuckle move, I mean. And now Silk Spectre with an ankle lock on Cammy, which is ironic, because in fact I think she does a hell submission thing too. And enziguri by Silk Spectre to Cammy. Going for cover Silk Spectre. 1, 2, and Cammy kicks out again. And now Silk Spectre going for the freaking Night Owl And she nails the Night Owl, Cammy. Drags it from the ropes. Silk Spectre going for the cover. One, and Cammy kicks out at one. Headlock by Silk Spectre. Cammy reverses it into a Russian leg sweep. Cammy telling Silk Spectre to get up. Oh god. It's Cammy with a freaking Olympic slam there. And Silk Spectre just no-sells it and just punches her off. Kick the midsection of Cammy and a chop to the chest. And just punches and a drop kick by Silk Spectre there, knocking her in the corner. And Cammy blocking by Silk Spectre trying to go for that and kick to the midsection. And Cammy flips over and going for a submission attempt on Silk Spectre. Silk Spectre gets out of the submission attempt from Cammy there. Now Cammy picking her up. Silk Spectre whipping her in the corner. Drop kicked Cammy in the corner there by Silk Spectre. Now just grinding her foot against her face. Oh god, now Silk Spectre. Springboard! Which she missed. Seriously, somebody make a count of all the springboards that people missed and actually hit in this freaking video. And Cammy with a neck breaker there, Silk Spectre. And Silk Spectre with a kip up. And now Silk Spectre just punches and go behind into a headlock. And then shoulder tackle by Silk Spectre. And another one. And a powerbomb or whatever the hell that was by Silk Spectre to Cammy. And now Silk Spectre has Cammy up. And Cammy reversed whatever Silk Spectre tried to go for there into a DDT. And Cammy picking up Silk Spectre. And just freaking nailing it with a neck breaker. Going for cover is Cammy. 1, 2, and Silk Spectre kicks out. And Cammy with headlock and Silk Spectre just trips her up. Elbow drop to the chest of Cammy there by Silk Spectre. Oh god, not again. Springboard by Silk Spectre, and she actually nailed it that time. You know, Cammy whipping Silk Spectre in the corner. Watch out, ref. And now Cammy with a freaking elbow to the top of the head of Silk Spectre there. And now just drags her away from the ropes. And now Cammy going for cover. 1, 2, and Silk Spectre kicks out. Go behind by Cammy and Silk Spectre. And Silk Spectre with an elbow and a chin to the breaker to Cammy there. And Cammy blocking out Silk Spectre trying to go over there. Probably the enziguri. And Cammy with another Olympic slam to freaking Silk Spectre. Drags it from the ropes. Going for cover is Cammy. 1, 2, and Cammy gets the pin over Silk Spectre and moves on in the tournament. And now Cammy will face whoever wins between Zarina King and Catwoman, which will be the final match of the day. Finally wrapping up this first opening round of the tournament. Silk Spectre freaking put on a hell of a performance. So did Cammy. They both tried their best, and they both tried to hit their finishers, and especially Silk Spectre. She only hit a Night Owl and enziguri once because Cammy kept blocking them. But Cammy getting the win after a second Olympic slam, and she's that much closer to getting a world title opportunity, which would be like the first time that's ever happened for her in this company, at least. She's a former TAW world champion, women's world champion, but you know. Freaking. And like I said, final match of the day is Zarina taking on Catwoman. And that'll be interesting. And this is the final match of the opening round of this tournament. Ending it with freaking Zarina King, a former women's champion of this company, 3-time women's champion of the AWF, former freaking AOT2 champion, I believe. Or she's working on that. She's freaking been holding all kinds of titles left and right. And now she's a former internet champion as well in the women's division's case of freaking the AWF. Which is crazy to think about. And Zarina now is trying to chase after winning the championship once again in this company. First she has to get past freaking Catwoman after her failed, and she's probably ticked off still after her failed attempt to win the internet championship of this company from Black Canary. after that crap she had to deal with freaking Tifa. Lord knows Serena's gonna be even more pissed if freaking she doesn't move on to the next round of this tournament. Freaking Tifa did. She's gonna be livid. And here comes Catwoman, who we have not seen in a while. And knowing Catwoman, this will probably make a break, because if she doesn't win this match, she probably isn't going to be sticking around for very much longer. But who the hell knows? Like I said, Catwoman hasn't wrestled in like forever, and I don't even remember the last time she even wrestled. So it'd be interesting to see if Catwoman can pull out the upset and somehow beat a former women's champion. I have my doubts, though. And that's not biased, that's just from personal experience. And let's get this freaking final match of the day freaking underway. And Serena immediately an armbar on Catwoman. Into a neckbreaker, Catwoman. And Serena already setting up for the King's Clash. She's trying to make quick work of freaking Catwoman already. Nope, she's going for the Anaconda Vice. What the hell is that sound? It sounds like a cannon going off somewhere in the crowd. Did somebody bring a freaking Civil War cannon or some shit? And Catwoman slipping out of Serena's grasp there and slams her face first into the ring. And slams her face first against the ring again. And now Catwoman with an armbar on Serena. Arm drag to Serena by Catwoman. And now Catwoman whipping Serena into a freaking headlock takeover, and Serena just punches her in the midsection. Kicked the midsection of Catwoman there. And now Serena has her up for the freaking GTS. Go on for cover, Serena. 1, 2, and Serena puts her away quickly with the GTS. And it helps it probably as she already weakened Catwoman with that freaking Anaconda Vice early on in the match. And Serena, unsurprisingly, puts away Catwoman in pretty quick fashion. And that's a message being sent to the rest of the people in the tournament. Serena wants to win this thing really freaking badly, because she wants to get the title back. Either way, if you like this video, leave a like, comment, all that stuff, share it with people. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!